In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Sureh Fosselat, Surah number 41, Session 2. At the first session, I talked about verses 9 and 10. Today and in the next session, God willing, I will talk about the verses 11 and 12. Verse 11, it states, Then he acted on the sky, and it was a vapor. So he said to it and to the earth, Come, both willingly or unwillingly. Discussion about this part. There are two parts in this verse. Part 1 says the sky above the earth was a vapor, and part 2 says that God said to the earth, and the sky, you both should obey me and do my order, willingly or unwillingly. And they both said that we will obey and do your order. I will discuss these two parts separately. 1. The sky above the earth was a vapor. At the early stages after the earth was made, there were more than At the early stages that the earth was made, there were thousands of active volcanoes all around the earth. At the beginning, the gases that would come out of these verses would disperse and go high in the sky. Then, gradually, because of the attraction force of the earth, these gases remained close to the earth. These gases were water vapor, carbon dioxide, that is CO, and a small amount of carbon monoxide. Part 2. God said to this vapor and the earth to obey him and do his order, willingly or unwillingly. And they both said that we will do your order willingly. Here Quran talks about the earth and the gases around it as living creatures who can decide what to do and what not to do. Quran has several other verses like this. For example, Surah Qaf, Surah number 50, verse 30 states, On the day that we will say to hell, that is about the world hereafter, at the day that we will say to hell, Are you filled up? And it will say, Are there any more? Also, Surah Rad, Surah number 13, verse 13, states, And the thunder declares his glory, God's glory, with his praise, with praising God. Another example is Surah Isra, Surah number 17, verse 44 states, The seven skies declare his glory, and the earth too, and those who are in them, and there is not a thing but glorifies him. with its praise. But you do not understand their glorification. Discussion about this part. At the present time, our knowledge, our scientific knowledge about these matters is close to zero. But in the future, we might know more. I mentioned two researchers that a few years ago I watched on the television. In one of them, a professor of the university who was doing research on the leaves of the trees. He connected the very tiny electrodes to a green fresh leaf. And these electrodes would register the very slight electrical activity of the leaf on a moving paper. Then he brought a glass which contained a liquid and said to the reporter that I will pour penicillin in this glass. He poured the powder of penicillin in the glass, and the electrical activity of the leaf suddenly increased a lot. And the needle on the moving paper was going sharply up and down. He said that the leaf realized the agony of the bacteria which were dying and showed sympathy towards them. Then he said to the lady TV reporter that I will scratch your forearm and you will notice that the leaf has sympathy towards you also. He brought a needle. Before scratching, the electrical activity of the leaf increased a little bit. But when he started scratching her forearm, the electrical activity of the leaf became normal. He said, when I wanted to scratch your forearm, you became a little bit concerned that it might hurt. And the leaf realized that and showed reaction, showed empathy towards you. But when I started scratching, you noticed that it does not hurt. You became calm and the leaf noticed that and the electrical activity of it became normal. In this experiment, at the first part, when the professor poured penicillin powder in the liquid that contained bacteria, surprisingly, the leaf noticed the bacteria dying, and more surprisingly, it showed severe reaction towards that. We, the human beings, excuse me, we, the human beings, do not realize the bacteria dying. And even if we know it because of our scientific knowledge that we are pouring penicillin on the liquid with bacteria, we do not show sympathy towards them. At the second part of the experiment, the leaf realized the slight anxiety of the TV reporter and again showed sympathy towards her. It seems that the plants are aware of what is going on around them in the living creatures, from bacteria to the human being, and show empathy towards all these living creatures. I think this experiment that professor did might be true about all kinds of vegetables, including the trees, bushes, and grasses. And another scientific research can prove or disprove what I am thinking. In another study that I heard on the same TV program, a researcher planted two groups of plants in two locations close to each other. And she watered them regularly. In one location, she put a device that would play a mild music. And in the other location, there was a device that would play very loud jazz music. At the first location, the plants grew better, and their tips bent towards the source of the music. At the second location, where there was loud jazz music, the plants stopped growing and their tips bent away from the source sound. And finally, they died. There are some points here in this research. First, we know that the leaf does not have hearing devices, does not have ears or any other hearing device. So how they heard these sounds? And second, why they liked the mild music and they hated the loud jazz music so much that they finally died. Our future generations will do more experiments, and I think the verses of Quran that talk about the hills talking, the tender declaring God's glory by praising Him, and so on, will be understood more. And they will become scientific verses. God in Quran has used different names for it, for Quran. And one of them is Hadith. Hadith means new. Quran is always new for any generation. And it has new information about any generation after us. Thank you very much, and God bless you.